I do believe we are live. So tonight I have to give just a tad bit of a disclaimer. The the monologue tonight will seem a little bit leaning towards the left. It is ChatGPT and not necessarily the views of the monkey pushing buttons. So just wanted to put that out front there. Let's see. Good evening, America. This is the Watchman News, where we keep an eye on the stories that make you go, what now? Tonight, we delve into the tale of preemptive pardons, political chess, and dare I say, it's our nation's most awkward Christmas gift exchange ever. Yes, we're talking about the Biden administration's hot topic debate, handing out pardons like Oprah handing out cars. You get a pardon and you get a pardon. Everybody gets a pardon. Now let's break this down. President Biden's senior aides are debating whether to preemptively pardon a list of public officials who could end up on President-elect Trump's naughty list. Let's be real. Trump's naughty list is longer than Santa's if Santa were vindictive and had a Twitter account. Told you, a little leaning on the left there. Apparently, this is all fueled by Trump's recent declaration that he's putting Kash Patel in charge of the FBI. Patel has vowed to pursue Trump's critics, so now Biden's team is basically saying, uh-oh, we better give our people a legal umbrella because there's a storm coming. I mean, if this were a Netflix series, it would be called Pardon Me, The Revenge Chronicles. Let's take a look at who's on this list, shall we? Dr. Anthony Fauci. Yes, the Dr. Fauci is apparently in need of a preemptive pardon. I can see it now. Fauci, a man who survived pandemics, anti-vaxxers, and relentless Facebook memes, gets dragged into a courtroom by Kash Patel. For what? Giving us too much health advice? Again, I warned you about it being left-leaning. Then there's Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff. These two have spent years dodging political attacks like it's dodgeball in gym class. Now they're like, great, subpoenas for Christmas. Thanks, Santa. But here's where it gets awkward. The pardons are being debated for people who haven't committed any crimes. I mean, getting a pardon for something you didn't do, it's like your mom grounding you just in case you think about sneaking out next weekend. I know you're innocent now, but we're playing it safe. Some of these folks reportedly saying, no thanks, I don't need a pardon, which is rich because you know deep down they're like, wait, I have to pay for my own legal defense? Maybe just a small pardon. Let's not overlook the potential PR disaster here. Giving preemptive pardons to innocent people might as well, I know I'm sucking at this tonight, might as well come with a giant neon sign that says, we did shady stuff. It's like someone at a party loudly proclaiming, I totally did not eat all the guac, bro. No one was accusing you, but now we're suspicious. But wait, there's more. Biden's aides are drawing comparisons to Gerald Ford's pardon of Nixon, except Ford was like, I'm healing the nation. Biden's aides are like, we're just trying to dodge the next season of Law and Order, D.C. edition. And then there's the juicy subplot. Hunter Biden's pardon. Oh yes, Hunter, the man, the myth, the oil painting legend. Biden's aides are reportedly grappling with questions like, if we pardon Hunter, do we really have the moral high ground to deny pardons to other people who didn't ask for them? It's the classic, what about your other kids, Karen? Moment. Now, the best part of this whole story is the response from Capitol Hill. Some Democrats are all in, saying, yeah, preemptive pardons sound like a great idea. Others are like, maybe not, because it kind of looks like we're guilty. And then you have Adam Schiff, who basically went on record saying, look, I didn't do anything wrong, so I don't need a pardon, but thanks. The subtext, I'm innocent, but also broke, so maybe leave it on the table. Let's talk about the real victims here, the lawyers. Apparently, some officials are scrambling for high-paying jobs just to avoid their future legal bills. That's right, America, where your career path can hinge on how much you need to survive political vendettas, coming soon to a LinkedIn profile near you. Expert in strategic evasion and PR damage control. So what's the takeaway here, folks? Is this just another chapter in the great American reality show, or are we witnessing history in the making? Either way, it's a wild ride. Pardons for everyone, pardons for no one. Who knows? All I know is if Biden starts handing out preemptive pardons, I'm sending in my application. You'll never know when you'll need one. That's, well, then it goes into the closing. I told you, it's not as good tonight, a little left-leaning tonight. Much more so for my liking, but, I went with it anyway. Normally better than that. So before I get started tonight, I want to just kind of put out a little bit of a warning out there. Let me have a sip of coffee, then the warning. So, we had a lady here today, here locally in our town, that was looking for a little bit of help because they're in a bad situation. And while I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about her situation, certainly not going to identify them, they were gracious enough to share some images with me and give me permission to share those images with you, and I've already talked about it in our local Facebook group. Look, you've heard about this probably countless amounts of times, but I just want to remind folks again, and hopefully, if I can save one person tragedy, it's well worth it. What you were looking at there is the what's left of an electric bike. This happened, I believe it was yesterday. They were charging the bike caught fire, now they don't have a place to live. Now, fortunately, very fortunately, it's not a total loss, meaning the home, but they're going to have to find somewhere else for a little bit until damages are taken care of and I guess smoke remediation. So, you'll get a lot of people out there that will just say, well, just make sure you buy a brand name. No, they were renting and did not have renter's insurance. So you'll get a lot of people out there that just say, oh, that's why you got to buy brand names. That's why you got to buy brand names. Don't rely on that, folks. And I am the last one to try to scare away anybody from electric devices, e-bikes, scooters, what have you. My battery for my e-bike, I actually just took it off the bike today. It's sitting right behind me on the table, but it's not charging. I cannot make this any more clear. Do not charge these devices inside. Don't do it. I will say the same for power banks, especially if you don't have one that is UL listed. There is a reason for that testing and that rating. There's a reason for it. Is that the end-all, be-all of electronics? That means you're, going to be blue skies and birds chirping? No. But I personally feel a lot more comfortable with a UL-listed product versus a non-UL-listed product. That being said, the battery bank right behind me for my bike was one that I built. with my own two hands. So I know the care and the quality that went into building that unit. But even then, it doesn't mean that there couldn't be a problem or a malfunction or... No, it'd get charged outside. Do I charge my EcoFlows outside? No. Why? Well, because EcoFlow's been around a little bit. At least for power banks, they're reputable. They suck on anything else. And they're a big enough company that if that EcoFlow burns my place down, guess who's going to be getting a lawsuit? So, unfortunately, when you have non-UL listed and, generic branded devices, you're going to have a hell of a time even getting to the bottom of who actually made it. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of these, no-name or less-known name products are manufactured in facilities where a bunch of other brands of products that in many cases even look the same with just different name tags. And sometimes it's really hard to get to the bottom of what company actually made the product. Because we'll take the company, and I say the word company Vivor in quotations here, because that's what they do. They bulk order products from manufacturers, slap their name on it, their label on it, and resell it. That's what they do. My diesel heater is a Vivor. Love it. Great heater. However, Vivor did not manufacture that. And if I was going to try to seek restitution reimbursement from whoever made it, it's going to be a long walk finding that out. And to be honest, you're never going to get nothing. Not out of a little bitty no-name company from China. You're not going to get nothing. You would have better luck suing Amazon or eBay or whatever, and probably not going to have much luck with that either. So be careful of this stuff. That's the other picture I have is just a little closer of it. Be careful, folks. I know that e-bikes, e-scooters, power banks, stuff like that make very popular, Christmas presents and stuff. If it's not UL listed, and I'm talking the power banks, if it's not a well-reputable brand like, and dare I say EcoFlow, Anker, even Jackery is reputable at this point. Blue Eddy's reputable name. Those, okay, I wouldn't charge them overnight while you're sleeping. Make sure that you're awake and present while they're charging. And I'm serious. Even if it's the bestest, most expensivest brand that you could buy and came with pink ribbons and bows on, doesn't matter. Do not charge them overnight when you're sleeping. Do not do it. We are fortunate and have a couple of firefighters that live next door to drag our asses out. I'm just kidding, but seriously, we do. Just don't charge this stuff inside. And if it's a power bank, don't do it while you're sleeping. Make sure you're awake. Make sure you're watching it, keeping an eye on it, because I'm telling you, when lithium burns, it is nasty. It is nasty. You don't even have to succumb to the fire. Even if you inhale the fumes from these batteries burning, it can be enough, maybe not to take you out that moment. But unfortunately, we lost a chief of the fire department not that long ago. And what happened to him was he was fighting a fire where there was lithium batteries, and he apparently inhaled some of the smoke. And, of course, it wasn't immediate or anything. It was, I believe, years later. And he is no longer with us. And it's a direct result of what happened from him inhaling the fumes from them lithium batteries burning. So, not a good thing. Be very careful with this stuff. Okay. That's one of the reasons why I kind of get crappy with all these quote-unquote influencers, these so-called content creators that are pushing every damn box that a company has sent them. I'm curious if they're going to help the people out when their house is burned down. And anytime you bring that up, they get all pissed off. I don't know what to tell them. Maybe stop putting money over people. Maybe we start with that. Stop putting money over people. I know I saw one, and I'll call it out. These folks are going to find out pretty quick the old remedy or the old formula isn't going to work very well. Asymmetrical preparedness. Put out a video. I saw it just on the side. Something about lockdowns. That formula is not going to work anymore. We'll let them figure it out, though. Anyway. The old fear profit model isn't going to do so well. Regardless of the truth, because the situation still hasn't changed, but people's mindsets and outlooks are going to change drastically, especially after January 20th. It wouldn't matter if the missiles are in the sky. People will still be swearing, oh no, everything's better. Because, well, I'll digress. Anywho, have a few vapes here. I do have this Biden pardon story up front. Had an earthquake today. Gonna talk about that a little bit. Gonna give you updates on the United Healthcare CEO that was shot. And it's interesting how far they've gotten in this investigation to find this guy. And when I go over the article, what I want all of you to do while I'm reading the article is continually ask yourself, how did they find this out? Because you're going to be like, huh? What? How in the hell? Yeah. And there are several answers. I think they just was able to pinpoint one location that he was at, and then was able to track him from there. And I'll explain that in a little more detail when we get there. Okay. Yeah, see, I always do that. Take one drag too many. Biden White House is discussing preemptive pardons for those in Trump's crosshairs. This is the actual article that I told ChatGPT to make a joke out of. President Joe Biden's senior aides are conducting a vigorous internal debate over whether to issue preemptive pardons to a range of current and former public officials who could be targeted with President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House, according to senior Democrats familiar with the discussions. Biden's aides are deeply concerned about a range of current and former officials who could find themselves facing inquiries and even indictments a sense of alarm which has only accelerated since Trump last week announced the appointment of Kash Patel to lead the FBI. Patel has publicly vowed to pursue Trump's critics. Now, first off, back up a little bit. Before we go running full speed and giving everybody a pardon, I'm still not done talking about Hunter's pardon. What's with this blanket thing? I do not think that should be allowed. I'm not sure how legal that part of it is. How can you be pardoned for a crime that you haven't been charged with? You can't. You cannot be pardoned for a crime that you've never been charged with. There's nothing to give the pardon on. So, if they dig up all kinds of information about, I don't know, maybe a Burisma scandal or something like that, that shouldn't be covered by the pardon that Biden had given him. Because he was never charged with that until after the pardon. So it's very interesting. I could be totally off base there. I am not a lawyer. But, seems a little suspicious to me. This goes on to say the White House officials, however, are carefully weighing the extraordinary step of handing out blanket pardons to those who've committed no crimes, both because it could suggest impropriety. Gosh, some words are a pain in the ass, especially when you don't have teeth. Only fueling Trump's criticisms, and because those offered preemptive pardons may reject them. The deliberations touch on pardoning those currently in office, elected and appointed, as well as former officials who've angered Trump and his loyalists. Those who could face exposure include such members of Congress's January 6th committee as Senator-elect Adam Schiff and former GOP Representative Liz Cheney of Wyoming. Trump has previously said Cheney should go to jail along with the rest of the unselect committee. Also mentioned by Biden's aides for a pardon is Anthony Fauci, the former head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, who became a lightning rod for criticism from the right during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, I think that he needs to have some serious charges. The West Wing deliberations have been organized by White House counsel Ed Siskel, but include a range of other aides, including Chief of Staff Jeff Zients. The president himself, who was intensely focused on his son's pardon, has not been brought to the broader pardon discussion yet. Could have been border, you never know these days, according to people familiar with the deliberations. Conversations were spurred by Trump's repeated threats and quiet lobbying by congressional Democrats, though not by those seeking pardons themselves. The beneficiaries know nothing. One well-connected Democrat told me about those who could receive pardons. So, and it goes on and on and on, and there's no reason to go on and on and on because it's absolute nonsense. Yes, it will probably happen, but I think that there needs to be someone step in here and say, no, this is not law and order. This is the color of law, not the intent of law. We need to stop looking at the color of law for everything. And I mean all of us for everything. Need to stop looking at the color of law. Instead of looking and determining if there's something that somebody should be charged with just because we don't like them. No, that is not how it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to be the intent of the law, which means, in some instances, you could even be guilty of committing the crime. But because it wasn't your intent, guess what? There are actually some laws that follow that direction. If you hear about crimes of passion, for instance, there are people that have walked away after committing murder because of the way in which it all happened. There are instances to where a man walks in on his wife with another man and in a fit of rage attacks the man the wife's with, and the man doesn't make it, and the husband, or so-called husband, had actually escaped charges. Depends, different states, different laws, but it has happened. It's supposed to be about the intent of the law, not the color of law, because that's how you get, whether it be the lawyers or the people themselves, finding every loophole they can and screwing everybody and everything as much as they can, all within the letter of the law, even though the intent of the law was meant to prevent them from doing that. So, in other words, you know how like California's got you gotta steal like $900 or $950 worth of stuff before it's a felony? Well, if you used intent and not color, that person could go in front of a judge after they'd just stolen $875 worth of goods, and the judge say, look, it's obvious that you stopped here so that you wouldn't be charged with a felony. That is not how this is supposed to work. Congratulations, you have a felony. That is intent. I know it's not a concept a lot of people are very familiar with because we've lived under the color of law for so long. Hey, you know, at one time we didn't have police officers. We didn't have law enforcement. They were called peace officers because that's what their job was, just to keep the peace. Other than that, their job was to leave you the hell alone. Imagine that. We haven't seen that in a long time in this country. Vape time. By the way, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving any legal advice. Blah, 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 blah. All that good stuff. Because. You can sue me. You ain't getting shit. Alright, I reckon we can talk about this little shaking and shimmer happening off the West Coast today. And yeah, there were people jumping out with videos of, oh my god, this is the zombie. And I'm like, give it a rest. Like, if you're not in an infected area, shut the fuck up. And let's wait and see if something happens. But I don't know. You got this person, that person, that person. Oh, there's been a tsunami alert. Oh. It's like, dude, take a Quaalude, whatever it is your doctor prescribed you or you got from the guy down the street, and relax. I'm telling you. That whole formula for video content's not going to bode well. It's going to be funny. Going to be funny. Because you know it's not going to be their fault. It's going to be YouTube. It's going to be everything but them. I like seeing people implode. Well, narcissists anyway. Alright. Let's talk earthquakes. 7.0 magnitude earthquake reported off Northern California coast. Tsunami warning canceled. See, all they had to do is wait a little bit, and then they could have gotten all the facts. And they made a video and been like, there was an earthquake today. They had a tsunami warning. No tsunami. All is well. Instead of, everybody run for your bunker and... 7.0 magnitude earthquake was reported off the coast of Northern California on Thursday, according to the United States Geological Survey. The epicenter of the strong quake, and that's in quotes, was off the coast near Petrolia in Humboldt County, the USGS said. Also, a tsunami warning that had been issued for coastal areas in California and Oregon, including San Francisco, was canceled just before noon local time. Look at that. Look at that. Little Debbie abuse, Pop-Tart abuse, Pop-Tart abuse, and the Frosted Flakes? Man, they really need to have like earthquake rails on those shelves because all that food abuse. Oh, we can't call that food, can we? All that chemical abuse on the floor. Pasteurized food product. The tsunami warning is canceled for the coastal areas of California and Oregon, the National Tsunami Warning Center wrote on X, because everybody gets all their emergency information from X. No tsunami danger presently exists for this area. The warning had been in effect from Davenport, California to Douglas/Lane Line, Oregon, the National Tsunami Warning Center said. That's hard to say. Like, National Tsunami, that's just, try it, like 3 times quick, and then when that don't work, hold your tongue and try it again, right? National Tsunami Warning Center. National Tsunami Warning Center. Yeah, it's not as good, like a pilot hit, but it's still, it's effective. Police in Berkeley, California had issued an evacuation order for parts of the city due to a tsunami warning coming to West Berkeley. The order was subsequently lifted after the tsunami warning was just going to take out Oakland. Was canceled. Evacuation orders for West Berkeley has been lifted. It is safe to return to the area, city officials said. Which is why I'm like wondering why people down in like Mississippi are like, oh my God, it's tsunami, everybody run. Shut the fuck up, man. God. Anyway, the earthquake was reported at 10:44 a.m. local time, according to the National Tsunami Warning Center. Oh yeah, and then some jackass that doesn't live too awful far from me, Dutch Sense, he was on. Got a total tool. There's been a robust aftershock sequence in its wake. Stephen DeLong, a geologist in the USGS Earthquake Science Center, said during a press briefing Thursday afternoon. More than 30 aftershocks have been reported in the region, including a 4.3 magnitude earthquake near Petrolia, according to the USGS. There are no detailed reports on damage or landslides to the earthquakes at this time, DeLong said. California Governor Moran told reporters that damage assessments are underway. I heard him speak today. I watched a little bit of Live Now Fox, and he was speaking about something today, just and the entire time, he was like talking down about the president-elect. He wouldn't even, like, that's how he had to say it. It was like, the president-elect. Ridiculous. Need to just flick that state really hard and knock it off into the ocean. Be like, see ya. Minor damage have been reported in Humboldt County, including to roofs in Ferndale, according to the city manager. In Rio Dell, there are cracks in the roads, and gas leak at a middle school has since been resolved. Mayor Pro Tem Amanda Carter, what the hell is this Pro Tem thing? Told ABC News. What the hell is Pro Tem? Mayor Pro Tem Amanda Carter, whatever the hell that means. No injuries have been reported at this time, the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office said Thursday. Temporary? I have no idea. Pro tem. Okay, that's it. I gotta Google it, man. For the time being. Okay, so that is a thing. For the time being. So it does mean like a temporary. I wonder what the pro means. The Tim, I get temporary, but professional, temporary? Whatever. Let's see. Shake alerts in the USGS earthquake early warning system were delivered as far north as Lincoln City, Oregon, and as far south as Salinas, California, the agency said. System was activated and performed as designed. At least 500,000 people received the alerts, according to the USGS. Regarding aftershocks, there is currently a 5% chance of a magnitude 6 or larger earthquake occurring in the next week, and a 34% chance of a magnitude 5 quake occurring in that time frame, the USGS said. USGS officials advised people to be prepared for aftershocks in the coming days and weeks. President Joe Biden has been briefed on the earthquake, according to a White House spokesperson. And he's like, that sounds good. Let's go to Dairy Queen and get me an earthquake. At his direction, senior administration and FEMA regional officials are in touch with their state and local counterparts in California and Oregon, the spokesperson said. Jeremy Edwards said in a statement, we stand ready to provide further support as needed. At this time, there are no requests for federal assistance. Boy, they're on the ball with California, though, aren't they? What the hell happened with North Carolina and Tennessee? Interesting. What colors are those states again? What color do they vote in those areas? No. Couldn't be. Couldn't be. How about a pardon for all of FEMA while they're at it? Just give all of FEMA a pardon. You're all pardoned. Why don't we just pardon all registered Democrats? That would be the right thing to do, right? Freaking ridiculous. I find this interesting, this next article I'm going to cover. I'm going to have a couple of vapes first before I go over it, but very interesting, and the timing is absolutely impeccable. I like sherbet ice cream. I really like sherbet ice cream. That's probably my favorite vape flavor, I think. Without a doubt, my favorite vape flavor. I gotta get more flavorings though, because I didn't have much raspberry to begin with. The only thing I'd previously used raspberry in was I can make an e-juice that tastes, I mean, just spot on. The Sex on the Beach mixed drink. Yeah, I can make a spot-on e-juice flavor, and that's why I've even got the raspberry, because it uses just a tad of that in it. Candy flavorings, something a lot of people probably don't know, don't necessarily mix like you think they would, right? If you take, and I'm just throwing examples out there, a Coca-Cola candy flavoring, and you mix it with a cherry candy flavoring, you're probably not going to get a cherry Coke. It's really odd how candy flavorings interact with one another, and it's really odd the different little tricks that there are in order to get flavors to pop. Like a lot of your fruits and stuff like that, Sometimes you can have problems getting that flavor to pop. But if you take something like peach flavoring, and put just a touch of it in there, all of a sudden, and peach doesn't work for all fruits, but a lot of them, if you put just a little bit of peach in there along with it, all of a sudden the other flavors, the fruit flavors, will just pop out of nowhere. Honeydew melon, right? That's one. You use straight honeydew melon, you're not going to get it to taste right for nothing. You take just a tad of ethyl maltol, right, which is basically sugar, just a tad of ethyl maltol, and just a smidgen of peach, and that honeydew melon will send you zinging for days. Yep. Nice, good, whatever you call it. I guess it's kind of a tart kind of a flavor, a little bit of a tart, and then sweet combination. Okay, back to the news. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield reverses decision to put a time limit on anesthesia. I wonder if there's anything that's happened in the news recently to where they're like, maybe we need to reconsider our position on this. Last thing we want is somebody with the scalpel sticking out of them, half loopy, hunting down CEOs. I'm just, maybe. One of the country's largest health insurers reversed a change in policy Thursday after widespread outcry, saying it would not tie payments in some states to the length of time a patient went under anesthesia. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield said in a statement that its decision to backpedal resulted from some dude getting shot, significant widespread misinformation about the policy. To be clear, apparently Obama wrote this for them, it never was and never will be the policy of Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield to not pay for medically necessary anesthesia services, the statement said. Well, it didn't say, that was my commentary. The proposed update to the policy was only designed to clarify the appropriateness of anesthesia consistent with the well-established clinical guidelines. In other words, you couldn't live like Michael Jackson and use it to go to sleep at night, right? I'm kidding. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield would have used physician work time values, which is published by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services as the metric for anesthesia limits. Maternity patients and patients under the age of 22 were exempt. But Dr. Jonathan Gao, Economics Committee Chair of the American Society for Anesthesiologists, said it's unclear how CMS derives those values. In mid-November, the American Society for Anesthesiologists called on Anthem to reverse the proposal immediately, saying in a news release that the policy would have taken effect in February in New York, Connecticut, and Missouri. It's not clear how many states in total would have been affected, as notices also were posted in Virginia and Colorado. People across the country registered their concerns and complaints on social media and encouraged people in affected states to call their legislators. Some people noted that the policy could prevent patients from getting overcharged. Gao said that the policy change would have been unprecedented, ignored the nuanced, unpredictable human element of surgery, and was a clear money grab. No way. It's incomprehensible how a health insurance company could so blatantly continue to prioritize their profits over safe patient care, he said. If Anthem is, in fact, rescinding the policy, we're delighted that they came to their senses. Prior to Anthem's announcement Thursday, Connecticut Comptroller Sean Scanlon said the concerning policy wouldn't affect the state after conversations with the insurance company, and payouts. And New York Governor Kathy Hochul said in an email statement that her checking account looks much better and it's all good. Oh, that her office had also successfully intervened. The insurance giant's policy change came one day after the CEO of United Healthcare, another major insurance company, was shot and killed in New York City. See, they added that at the bottom. I'm just, just saying. Just saying. Timing is everything. And location. Hang on, I gotta see what the new post in the group is about. Oh, it's all good. There is lots of scammers on Facebook right now, and I mean a ton of them. And so try to keep up on them. Oh, yikes. See, and I missed. Facebook never notifies me. There's 3 posts here that I was totally unaware that even existed because Facebook didn't tell me. Let's see. Hang on. Okay. I do try to watch that group closely. Alright, I've got one more article here. After I have a couple of babes. Now this is going to be a little interesting, but I'll tell you how I think they did it. Of course, you know about the United Healthcare CEO that was shot. Police appear to be closing in on the suspect's name. Pardon me. It says police appear to be closing in on the identity of a man suspected of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Midtown Manhattan, sources told ABC News. Authorities on Thursday released images of the suspect taken from a surveillance camera at the High New York City hostel at West 103rd Street on the Upper West Side, where it appears the suspect shared a room with 2 other men, according to police sources. And, Tim Pool, dude, you really gotta stop trying to, compare and contrast because you suck at it, bro. I watched a video he put out today. It's not the same person. It's not the same person. And it's like, dude, same person. Same person. They've actually got enough of a face there that they can use facial recognition. So why they're continuing to play games, I don't know. But they've got enough of the person's face right there to use facial recognition. So, I don't know why they're playing dumb. Detectives canvassed other hostels in the area and showed people the suspect's picture. Sources said police have determined the suspect checked into an Upper West Side hostel using a New Jersey license that isn't his, police sources told ABC News. Hey? Did I read this part about... Yeah, I did. Rather than New Jersey, the individual has been linked most recently to Atlanta, Georgia. The shooter arrived in New York last month on a bus from Atlanta, law enforcement sources told ABC on Thursday. He arrived through Port Authority bus terminal, and detectives have been looking to see if they can spot him on video. Okay, stop. First of all, it's not about people sitting there watching videos at this point, because they will use that facial recognition, and they can scan all their systems that are part of their little network. They can scan all of it, in no time. But how did they get here from there is the question. And I think I've got the answer. So they know the hostel that he stayed at. Okay? This guy was probably smart enough that when he went and did the deed, he didn't take a cell phone with him. Okay? However, there is probably a cell phone pinged from that room that he had stayed in all the way on back down to Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm betting that's how they know about that. And then from there they can go, okay, well, we know that he was on this bus this time, so let's start scrubbing video, right? So I have a feeling, I don't know how the hell they don't know now. Again, they've got enough of an image to get facial recognition from. So I'm not really buying that they don't know at this point who it is. But we'll see. I bet within the next couple of days they got this one solved. I really do. The interesting thing is, the bullet casing that they found at the scene had three words on it: deny, defend, and depose. I find that interesting. And at the same time, I wonder if it was put on there just to throw them off. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? If they do positively identify this guy, I'm sure that we'll find out much more of what's going on, I would think. Says here, police believe the shooter used a B&T Station 6, known in Great Britain as a well-rod pistol, according to police sources. The gun doesn't have a silencer, but it does have a long barrel that enables the 9mm to fire a nearly silent shot. The gun requires manually cycling ammunition from the magazine. Now, I caught a video today, it just happened to pop up, and some guy, and I'm not a gun guy, he was saying that absolutely was not a well-rod pistol. But I've been around this ball of dirt long enough to know that there are a lot of people that talk a lot of bullshit. Even when they should know better. So, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you either way on that, whether or not it was this well-rod pistol or whether it was just a piece of crap. Or whether or not the dude just has really limp wrists. And, I mean, that's an option too. If you don't hold your handgun firm enough, you can cause it not to cycle properly. So if your wrists are a little too limp, you might get some jams, some stovepipes, some, it happens. Thompson, 50, was in New York City for the United Healthcare Investors Conference, which was scheduled to start at 8 a.m. His schedule was widely known, police sources said. So, I don't know if there's anything new down here. Let me just real quick scan. Seeing in this, it says it appears that the gun malfunctions as he clears the jam and begins to fire again. And I will admit that it does look a little more like he's clearing a jam than what he is just cycling the firearm. So, to me, there's a difference in the motions. But that doesn't mean nothing. Again, maybe he's limp-wristed. Let's see. Flat on a bike. I'm looking to see if there's really anything else. Police recovered the water bottle and candy wrapper from the crime scene, which they believe are linked to the gunman. Fingerprint and DNA tests on the items are ongoing, law enforcement sources told ABC News. He was a complete dumbass if he left that behind. Thompson's wife, Paulette Thompson, said in a statement that she is shattered by the senseless killing. Wait a minute. Here. Wait a minute. Let's talk about this wife. She said, Brian was an incredibly loving, generous, talented man who truly lived life to the fullest and touched so many lives, she said. Yeah, were some of them on Epstein's Island? Most importantly, Brian was an incredibly loving father to our 2 sons and will be greatly missed. However, and there is a however, the Thompsons each own separate homes in the same suburb of Minneapolis and had been living separately for years, according to property records and interviews with neighbors. I'm sure. Shattered. I wonder if she was so shattered like a month ago or so to put out like a very large life insurance policy on him or something. I don't know. But I find that a little interesting. I really do. I certainly hope they're investigating that direction even just a little bit. 'Cause, sounds a little messed up. So I don't know. I guess the other big, in my opinion, the other big thing on the news is Tucker Carlson's interview with Lavrov. Very good interview. I enjoyed it. Man, I'll tell you what. I have so much respect for Tucker. He is the one big, if you will, media personality out there that is actually doing his job. And I commend him. Can't be easy. But I enjoyed listening to the interview that he had with Lavrov. I think that Lavrov was very genuine, and I think he was honest. I think he was as forthcoming as what he could be. That being said, some of the things they talked about are indeed concerning, and especially involving nuclear war. The West is playing a game that they're not going to win. That's just a fact. And it's totally senseless. I'm still trying to figure out one reason why we need NATO butted right up to the door of Russia. If it wasn't for NATO, Russia wouldn't be where they are right now. It was because of the backtracking on guarantees that were made many years ago. I'm not taking anybody's side. I am saying that there are reasons. I cheated on my wife, and how there's no good way, there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse that is acceptable that I can give you. But that doesn't mean that there weren't reasons. There were a whole lot of reasons. But reacting in that way is unacceptable. And that's on me. Nobody else. I don't even attempt to try to point all the blame on her. because I am responsible for me. Period. If the West and NATO would have kept their word, there would be no conflict right now. There would be no conflict right now. And that's just a fact. So we'll see. Hoping we can make it to January 20th. And even then, doesn't necessarily mean that it's all good. We'll see. My concern is that regardless of what the United States does, the rest of the Western nations will continue to pump him full of money, weapons, and nonsense. And they'll keep poking the bear. Now, if the United States has backed out of it at that time and is no longer a party to that, then we may not have anything to worry about here. I don't believe for a second that if a NATO country is directly involved in a direct attack on Russia, and Russia responds to that NATO nation, I don't think with Trump at the helm that we're necessarily going to get involved. I don't know that we'll necessarily follow Article 5 at that point. There's already been other nations that have spoke up and said, hey, look, if you guys get this thing kicked off, we're not doing this. NATO countries have spoke up and said, we're not doing this. Maybe the United States will just become another one of those nations saying that. I hope. At one time, there was a need for NATO and the United Nations. And I'm not saying that there's no need for any kind of an international community, at least just to kind of keep in contact with one another, to have a place where everybody can state their concerns, their intentions, and stuff like that. I think that's a good thing. But I don't think they should be allowed to possess any power or any type of a military force or anything like that. I don't know. That's just me. Anyway, it is Thursday, which makes it our Friday. I'm going to hop on out of here. And God willing, we'll see you all again on Sunday night. Hopefully the ChatGPT monologue will be a little bit better. We'll see what kind of news we have to work with. And go from there. So I am out of here. You all have a good one. Be safe this weekend. Good night, Leo. You have a good one too, brother. And we shall see you soon. Shalom.